Well, good morning, good afternoon. No matter what time of the day it is for where you are, we appreciate you joining us for this episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. This is presented every week by CVC Success Group, and our mission in doing this is to share ideas, share concepts, share things that can help you move your business to the level that you dream of and get you there just a little bit quicker. That's what we do here at CVC Success Group. So sometimes it's just us on here. Sometimes we do interviews with a lot of interesting people. We do searches for people we can bring on here that can really provide value to our audience. And one of the things is I get hit every week for people that I have no idea who they are that want to be a guest on here. Their public relation agents are out there just probing the airwaves. So it's like every week somebody will send me an email. Hey, I've got this great guy you need to have on your podcast, on your broadcast. And be honest with you, I've never heard of them. I do a little research like, nah, they're not going to fit the bill. So what we try to do is bring you people that will deliver value to our listeners. Like I said, we're getting upwards of about 30,000 views a week right now on the replays. So we appreciate you being there. And yeah, we get a lot more people listening to us on the replays than we do on the live. And we understand that. That's not a problem. So anyway, appreciate you being here. Our guest this week is a guy that I met some years ago. And he actually did the first videos that Cheryl and I ever engaged a videographer for. He was working for a person by the name of Suzanne Evans back in those days. And they had a recording studio down in Murals Inlet, South Carolina. So Cheryl and I headed down to Murals Inlet. We booked some videos with this gentleman, did a very effective job with it. Yeah, he got really upset because I wouldn't give him a script that's coming in because I don't speak from scripts, and he didn't know what I was doing. So I think that kind of threw him when he went in because he wasn't used to people getting in front of the camera and could just talk like I did. But anyway, our guest today is a guy by the name of Jim Marshall. He actually goes by Jimbo. He said that's what his mother called him when he was little. And now he's come up with a real neat concept where he is teaching people how to use their smartphones to record their own videos. Now, granted, a professional video done by a videographer such as Jim is something that has a long shelf life, but it can also be very expensive to do these videos like this. So what you want to do is to be successful is to communicate with your customer base, your community on a regular basis. And the best way to do that is video. It's video. When people see a video rolling down through a screen, they're going to pay attention to a video much more than they're going to pay attention to a still graphic that's coming across. Yeah, graphics can work, but I think we all agree that the number one way today to promote today is to speak to your community. And that's what we got Jim here for today. So, Jim, first of all, I appreciate you being with us, man. Glad you were able to work today in your schedule.
Yeah, well, listen, I appreciate you guys having me on. I do recall having you and your lovely wife back in the studio probably about 6-8 years ago. And aside from trying to get you to read from a script, which I was not successful, my other goal was just to get you to smile a bit more. Right? So yeah, I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to share this information. Like you were saying, video is not going anywhere. And what I believe about video more than anything is it allows for the opportunity for your customer out there to know, like, and trust you. And people want to buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And if they start seeing a couple videos from you, all of a sudden, they're going to start to feel like they know who you are. They'll get to like you because they're going to judge you right away. And that's okay, right? And that allows them to move to that next phase of trust. And that's why I'm a big believer in video. You don't have to learn it from me. I am a cheerleader for the industry, for the tool of video, because I know the power it can provide business owners.
Fantastic, Jim. So we're going to go around the room here and ask a couple questions each of you. So anyway, this is one of the hardest challenges because I encourage every client I have to record videos. But this is the problem. They're scared to death to talk to a camera.
They are.
I have never seen a camera in the world that has ever bit anybody, it's ever bruised them or anything else, but
Right.
they just freeze up in front of a camera. I saw this because my first video training was with Jeffrey Gittimer. And I went in and I did videos, and he was the one that actually taught me how to talk to a camera initially. But I had several other people that were in that same class with me, and these were owners of large businesses, and they were scared to death to talk to the camera. They were scared to really say, now, one of the things Gittimer encouraged me to be able to say was, my name's Jerry Eisenhower, and I'm waiting on your phone call right now. Okay? To lean into the camera and talk to it. So let's start off with that, Jim. You've got somebody that's scared to speak to the camera.
Yeah.
How do you get them comfortable speaking in this medium?
Yeah, great question. I get this all the time throughout my career. This is one of the biggest obstacles that people face, right, when it comes to making videos. So first of all, know you're not alone. If you hate the camera, if it feels weird, you're not alone. And yeah, it's a little bit weird, right? Because ultimately you are speaking to an inanimate object, right? And so the first thing I tell people is it starts with the mindset, right? You guys are a believer of mindset, mentality, and this positive mindset. And the idea is you've got to, in your mind, treat that camera like you are talking to a person. You've just got to talk to it, not at it. You've got to treat it like that camera is sitting there going, okay, I get this, right? I want this. And the other thing, part of that mindset shift is believing when you go to make your videos that the exact right person is going to watch it. Like they're sitting there waiting for your video, that it's going to solve their problem, that it's going to provide them a solution. Now, if we want to get a little wacky about it, one of the activities that I give a lot of my clients is I say, and your family's going to think you're crazy if you do this, but I want you to pick up inanimate objects and just start talking to it, right? Because if you can start doing this, and all of a sudden you're starting to train yourself to talk to these inanimate objects, yes, your family will think you're crazy, but it's going to get you over the fear. So it's a little bit of a silly activity, but it works, right? And then the other thing I say is like, look, imagine that camera is your perfect client. You know, that perfect client that doesn't complain, that pays on time, that does what they're supposed to do, that preps the area that's supposed to be prepped before you get there. Picture that one client and talk to that one client, and it makes a world of difference. And then the other thing I really, emphasize with people and clients is you do have to emote. You have to be a little bit more energetic than you normally would. And here's the truth. When you're out on a job, when you're talking to one of your clients, you naturally go into this behavior. You just don't realize it, right? So the next time you're talking to that client, I want you to step outside of the scene for a little bit and just focus on how you are being a little bit more expressive, a little bit more not salesy, but a little bit more like, I need you to buy into my idea, right? And if you commit to that, the camera becomes a lot easier.
Got you covered, brother. So Cheryl, I'm gonna go to you. If I remember right, whenever Jimbo filmed us, they actually had a hairdresser there that worked on your hairdo that morning. If I'm not correct, that was part of the thing. They changed your look a little bit, did a little bit of things with your hair there to come onto the camera better. So what would be the question you would have for Jim this morning?
Okay. Yeah, you have to be pretty to hit a camera. No, you don't. You can have your very worst day it looks and still be on a camera. But do you find when you're interviewing people that are extroverts are much easier to get to talk on a camera than somebody that's introverted?
Yeah, I mean, I think naturally that's going to happen. And I think, listen, as a business owner, myself, and people are a little bit surprised by this, I'm a natural introvert. Like if I'm in a group of people, I'm a little bit anxious. I'm a little bit like, what am I going to talk about? Right. Now, I've had a career in acting and stuff, and I've done, theater and plays and short films and stuff like that. So I know that when it's time to go on, I can do that, right? So it's not a problem for me. But for my introverts out there, again, this is, again, gets a little bit into that mindset area. I would ask you, and this is for the extroverts as well, when we're talking about looks and, because I get a lot of people that are like, I don't like the way I look on camera. I don't like the way I sound on camera. And it's like, yeah, welcome to the freaking club. Nobody likes the way we look on camera. Okay. If I was sitting here watching my videos all day, I would be a narcissistic maniac. So again, you're not alone. Nobody likes themselves on camera and likes necessarily the way they sound. But I will ask you this. Is your desire to make a good living, is your desire to help more people and solve more problems and create a team where they can be employed and provide a good life for their family, is that desire bigger than your ego? And if you can answer yes to that question, again, being on camera becomes a lot easier, because again, ultimately, are people going to judge you? Yeah, we judge everybody. The second we went live, somebody's out there judging me, right? What's in his background? Did you see the flag? My father passed away, so I have the military flag. He was in the Marines. You're making these little judgments. You go to the grocery store, and if that checkout clerk has 17 colors in their hair, I don't know about you, but I'm like, cool, really? Now, I'm not holding that judgment when I walk out. I'm just like, all right, good on you, whatever you want, not for me, right? So understand that they're going to judge you, but ultimately, if you provide value, if you provide this notion that you can solve their problem and they can get to trust you, it's all fine, right? And the great thing about video is it allows people to make that judgment, and it's pretty much an instant yes or a no. Like, it's not going to take us long to go, oh, I could hear more from that person, right? Or, nah, not my cup of tea. And that's what I think, when it comes to introvert, extrovert, at the end of the day, just decide my mission, my desire to make money and create impact is bigger than my ego. And then it's all good.
Fantastic. Cheryl, did that answer your question for you?
It did.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, Josh, what question would you ask Jim today?
Mine is just going to be over, do you have to have fancy videos to get your point across?
No. In fact, this is hard for me to say as a guy that's made a living with a camera for 20 years and has, probably $15,000 of equipment across the room in a closet. Most people are seeing better results using their phone than hiring a big, expensive crew. And I actually teach most of my clients, when you're first starting out, just use your computer's webcam. It's good enough, because ultimately what happened, and COVID, good, bad, and different, right? It brought a lot of bad, but every bad situation, there's going to be opportunities. And during COVID, I was running a traditional video company, right? Where we would take a crew out, 4K cameras, lighting, all the stuff, right? And then COVID happens. Well, we couldn't travel. We couldn't sell anything. So we flipped it and started recording video virtually online. Essentially, we use StreamYard a lot of the times, the platform that we're using here today, to record people's videos. And in 2020, from May until December, I sold $600,000 in video services. I couldn't have done that with the traditional route of taking cameras everywhere and traveling, right? And it also made it convenient for the business owners, because all of a sudden they're not having to clear their whole day, right? Because in the past, if I'm bringing out myself and a video crew, I'm going to need you all day so that you can get your money's worth, right? If you hire a video crew, a video producer, you want them there all day because they're there and they're going to charge you about the same if they're there all day or they're there a couple of hours, right? So really, COVID really brought this notion of bad video is actually okay. Nobody cares because all of a sudden we were all on Zoom and the footage was like, not horrific, not great, but good enough. And ultimately, if you solve a problem that your customer needs and you're likable and trustable on camera, it's going to work. So I'm actually, I still film stuff with my big fancy cameras, but honestly, 90% of the time, I'm either using my phone or my computer because it's just easier, faster, and more efficient.
Yeah. And Jim, that's one of the reasons that you came up on my radar again, even though we had a lot of things. You actually filmed for some of my clients, went out in the field, went on the job sites. I can still remember you brought drones in. We did all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But you went out and filmed 10 videos for this gentleman some years ago when I got to know you and we were looking for a good videographer and I recommended you there. But now what brought you to light was I was rolling down my timeline on Facebook and all of a sudden I heard this voice come across and I said, I recognize that voice, and it was you talking about a course that you were now doing to teach people how to do this, how to effectively use a smartphone. Tell us about that course. Tell us how you're doing this, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. I sell this idea as 3 easy steps to create an easy, profitable video, right? And it starts, everybody's heard of AI, right? Everybody's probably using some sort of ChatGPT or Claude.ai. They're essentially the same. ChatGPT is the bigger one. And what you can do is you can make a simple prompt into that chat, create me a tip type video for people who have a problem blank, right? Solve the problem, talk about the problem you want to talk about, right? Whether it be plumbing, a chimney issue, right? Tips to keep the pipes running, tips for the chimney, right? Whatever it is, whatever your service-based business does, you want to create short little tip type content videos. And look, these aren't going to be like changing the world, but the idea is that people, again, will get the opportunity to know, like, and trust you, right? And that's what we're going for. And listen, as a homeowner, we're constantly in need of things, right? As individuals, we're constantly in need of service providers, right? We're often struggling with who to turn to, where to go, right? Because we want to be able to know, like, and trust somebody, and that's what video does. So there's 3 steps to this. One, we use AI, and I'm gonna show you my quick little prompt here. Super easy, right? I'm gonna get my screen going here. And the second step we're going to do is we are going to shoot for the edit. This is my concept. So can you guys see my screen here?
Yes.
Here we go. That was my Canvas screen. All right. So this is part of my presentation. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I just want to show everybody a simple prompt that you can start with. Okay. A simple prompt. Now, when I put this into the chat, it essentially gives me something like this. And I know this may be a little bit hard to read. Let me see if I can't get that a little bigger. There we go. It's going to give me this script, and it's written in paragraphs. That's kind of the key, because ultimately what you're going to do here, Jerry, is you're not going to memorize the script, and you're not trying to read it word for word. But essentially what you're doing is you're looking at the script and you're like, okay, what does that first paragraph say in general? Now, you can also think of this as bullet points. Hey, I'm going to teach people how to do blank. And there's basically 3 steps, right? And I want you to treat those 3 steps as separate little bites, because ultimately we are going to edit the video, right? Because editing gives you the freedom to mess it up. Sorry, I've got planes like all over my, one second. Editing gives you the freedom to do it in more than one take and have some mess ups. Because listen, if you're just starting out, you're going to mess up. And I'll give you a real world example here, guys. When I go to work with people and I'm looking at a script about this, where the final video is going to be about 1 minute long, 1 minute long, the raw footage of recording is easily 8 to 12 minutes. What does that mean? Well, it means there's about 9 or 10 minutes, 11 minutes of pure garbage. You know, in Hollywood, they say it was left on the cutting room floor, right? So I want you to give yourself a little bit of permission, like, hey, I don't have to be perfect right out of the gate, right? But when you understand this concept of shooting for the edit, it's freedom. Because what you can start to do is go, okay, I'm going to start the first paragraph in front of the shop. Then I'm going to have the second paragraph, and I'm going to do that in the truck. And then I'm going to do the third paragraph in front of the work site. And what this allows you to do is treat this really like an accordion. Like you can build this video one little chunk or paragraph at a time, right? And I want to show you this. This is the real game changer, all right? This is a program, an editing program online called Veed.io. VEED.io. Now, there's a couple of other programs that have these sophisticated tools, okay? But what you're seeing here is an example of a video that I shot. And if you look right here, 141.5, that's my raw time, right? So that's the raw footage where I've messed up, etc., right? Now watch how cool this program is. Edit with script. Auto transcribe. It's generating all of the words that I said in the video, all right? And what I'm literally going to be able to do is take this, and I'm talking here, okay, so this is paragraph 1. I'm looking at the script, getting my head around it. That's all of the things that I'm saying, right? I start talking, ever go to hit record. Watch this. I'm simply going to highlight, delete, and my first edit is done, right? Then I'm going to look for when I have another edit, right? And I want to give you one tip that will make your video a lot easier for you. Okay, good enough. All right. I'm giving some direction. I'm hitting delete. I'm editing with the actual dialogue, right? So I don't have to worry about anything, trying to figure out all these fancy tools, right? Now watch this. So here's my tip. This is where I start again, right? So I'm simply going to, and here's a mess up. So here's my tip. I don't need both of those. So I'm literally going to do some highlighting, deleting, right? And now all of a sudden it's going to, I need to restore that one. See, I made a mistake and I cut out one of my words. Literally, I highlight it and I just put restore. So if you can read, like you can now edit, right? Assuming you know how to click and drag kind of a thing. So give them a face, give them a name. I'm going to highlight some more and watch this, because here's the thing. When you make that mental switch, you treat video like, because here's the thing, I have a few mess up, right? So I just edit out some more, right? So I'm literally just click, holding and dragging, delete, right? Making sure these go together. Now you see what happens down here. Now I've got 3 edits, right? These are 3 separate clips. They're all part of one clip, but it's 3 good parts, right, of the mess up, right? So I'm going to go back to this edit with the script and look at the end, right? Listen, I hope this tip helps you. And for more game-changing tips like this, give me a like and give me a subscribe. And I said, and listen, I did the ending one more time. I don't need to, right? So I'm literally going to highlight all that. Watch what happens to the end of this right down here. Delete. And now my video is done, complete with titles, complete. Right now it plays a little jerky, but when I go to export this, meaning I'm going to make the video final, it plays smooth. So all I'm doing right here, guys, is I'm playing back in between the clips to make sure they're smooth. I mean, like in 5 minutes, I have this video edited literally just by editing the words, right? So if you've gone into Word or Google Documents and you know how to do that, you know how to edit. Now, what I love about Veed, and by the way, there's a free version, right? So you can play around with this and check it out. And here's like, guys, most of my business owners, I don't want them to do their own video editing. I really don't, because this is not a money generating activity for them. But why I like them to learn conceptually and to play around with this for a little bit is because can you imagine the empowerment you now have to hire a video editor? So when an editor comes back and goes, well, it took me 4 hours, and you're like, took me 30 minutes. Like, how is it that I'm better than you and now I'm paying you, right? So that's what's cool. But now look, it's already put in my captions and you're like, okay, but what if I want those to be a different style, right? What if they're a little small, right? Watch this. I go to style, and in one click, I can change what those titles look like, right? And then you might be thinking, well, that's great, but blue is not my color. Okay, edit, right? I go up to here or down here, and I can literally change the color to whatever you want, right? And my video is done. All of that stuff is customizable. The other thing I really love about this, Jerry, and I won't go into all of this because I know we're a little bit on time, but you can add titles here. Like you could add, I can add my name on the screen, right? And it's literally like this click holding and dragging type thing where all I do in here is click, type in my name, and done, right? So all of this stuff is very basic. Now, when I'm teaching this, to a group of business owners, I'm generally saying, hey, if you've ever used that platform Kartra, if you've ever used that application Canva, right? That's a big design program that's super popular online. I'm like, if you get that, you can certainly get this, right? And then the other thing I love about this, and I'll finish up, is it has music already in the program. So I just play, right? With one click, the plus, it's going to drop that track down on my timeline. Now it's going to come out probably a little bit too loud, but I just need to highlight that. I can take it down, right? And then I just play it to check it out. And essentially, we've got our video. Couple more steps to get it out and finalize it, but that's basically it, right? So again, there's no more excuses, right? The hardest thing I tell people, and we started with this, the hardest thing is just being on camera. It's just learning to being comfortable, right? On camera and not over stressing about it. And once you get that part around your head, the rest is easy.
Okay. Fantastic, man. I mean, editing is something I've never done because it would just seem too complicated. But what you just showed certainly looked pretty interesting, as far as what to do. So, Josh, what about you? What did you think of what he just presented?
No, I mean, I have Adobe Premiere Pro sitting here on my computer. Like,
Yeah. And that's what I use, Josh. I use Premiere, and I use two programs almost every day. It's Premiere and this program that I just showed you, because Premiere is wonderful, but it's complicated. If you're not a computer guy, forget it.
I'm a computer guy, and I got excited when I could learn when I did effects. I was like yelling for my wife. I'm like, look what I did to the video.
Right.
Look how cool this is.
Yeah. And Josh, this has a lot of, effects that you can do, right? Of course, it's not as in-depth as Premiere, and it doesn't have all of those things.
No, you don't need that.
I was about to say, for 99.9% of the business owners out there, you don't need that. You need easy ways to create consistent content so that you can stay top of mind, right?
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about what's happened with our internets right now and the way social media works, as much as I really can't stand it, right? Being a middle-aged white guy, I'm like, I don't get all this sharing stuff. But I'm having to learn to adapt, because it's that or starve. You can become the expert just by flooding the social streams with content. If they see you enough, they will assume you know what you're talking about, right? And that's the beautiful thing. I often use the analogy of, like, if you're sick, you go into the doctor, you spend 45 minutes in the waiting room, you finally get back to the room, right? And you wait another 15 to 30 minutes in that room waiting for somebody to come in and say, what's wrong? When that person comes in wearing the white coat, you don't ask them what medical school they went to. You don't ask them how many times have they treated this today. You're just basically so grateful that somebody that looks like they know what they're doing has come into that room. And it's kind of the same thing, right? So if you're the business owner and you're creating consistent content, people are not going to wonder, like, oh, I wonder if they're good, right? Obviously, we want you to be good. You should have some reviews. You should have some social proof. But if they see you enough, they become familiar with you. And now all of a sudden, you're just easier to hire. You're easier to hire.
Yeah.
Well,
I made a lot of brochures, and I've made a few videos, just because, as I've seen, like, people will love to argue face to face, but they can't argue with the video, and they can't argue with the brochure.
That's right.
And, like, even what we're talking about is, like, it's just even if, like, for chimney guys, if you're on the roof and you just want to point something out in a quick video, it's just point it out. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to be fancy videos. They just have to be truthful and genuine.
Exactly.
And maybe some good on, and maybe get yourself a wireless mic.
Yeah, exactly. Wireless mic is huge. Just because, one of the things I say is, like, people will forgive a bad picture. They won't forgive bad sound, right? They just won't, because if you can't hear it and understand it, it's like, eh. The other cool thing about this program, you were talking about, a chimney company guy having be up on the roof. You could just shoot shots up there, upload those shots into this program, and literally there's a voiceover record where you could just lay down the voiceover track later on, right, and talk about what's happening.
Yeah.
I've seen someone try to dub their voice. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
It's super terrible.
We're not making a foreign film here.
No, but I did see someone trying to do that, and I was like, oh my God, it was off by like 1/10 of a second, but it just drove me absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I never liked the foreign movies. They drive me crazy. So, Cheryl, what about you? You got any other questions for Jim?
Well, just one that I go back. This is something that was said a long time ago, and it may help people. I know if people on the job site, they're dressed in their suits, that's how they are dressed. But when you're, let's say, going to sit in front of the fireplace and make your video, I mean, we were taught there were certain types of fabric you did not wear on camera because it smudged you up.
Yep. Yeah, good question. the general rule of thumb is you want to go with solid colors, no patterns, and nothing on your body that's going to be distracting. What, kind of going back to the whole idea of like, it's about you've got to be the show, not the outfit, right? So the other thing you see this on like the evening news where newscasters wearing like a tie, and that tie seems to have a little bit of movement. And a lot of times with men's shirts, for instance, if they have a really small pattern in them, like a button down type shirt, a really small pattern, the video reads it and it's like there's a little movement in it. There's like a little wave in it, and it's kind of distracting. It's called like a moire effect. And really, I mean, again, the great news is if you record it for 5 seconds and you see that in the outfit, you know to change, right? So you just want to think solid. I always like conservative type colors, right? Nothing too bright, unless that's your brand, right? If that's your brand, get after it. But I don't like to see plaids, stripes, anything like that. I like solids.
Okay. So, Jim, here's another big challenge people have about doing videos, which is my content. What do I talk about? And, one of the advice I give people is, what are people calling you for? Because if people are calling you to have a pain, you can bet there's hundreds more out there that have that same pain, and they don't know you're the person that can, resolve that pain. So what's your advice to them about building content? What's their content ideas?
So we're going to go back to AI. So we've got a lot of chimney business owners, right, that watch. What are the kind of service providers we have? We have
chimney is our biggest one. We've got some garage door people. We got some plumbers. We have HVAC, but a lot of home services.
Okay, great. I love that. So let's just do something on the fly here, right? I'm in ChatGPT, right? I'm an owner of a chimney business. Can you give me 10 short videos that would help my potential clients with minor problems and show I'm the expert to hire for their needs? Very simple prompt. Now, with ChatGPT, one of the great things about this is if they've made some content, let's say maybe they've written some blog articles, whatever it may be, right? They can literally upload those articles into ChatGPT and say, and match this tone. And the video scripts will come out like that. And I always say this, Jerry, write in paragraphs. And let me just change this to 5 so we don't get too long of a prompt going here. Write in paragraphs, because remember, going back to it, paragraphs represent our edit points, right? So this allows us to make the content easier because we're not trying to do the whole thing all at once. We're going paragraph by paragraph. And if we have to redo a paragraph 5 times, who cares, right? So I'm just going to hit return. How to know if it's time for a chimney cleaning. What that chimney leak really means. Why shouldn't you trust your chimney just to a handyman? I mean, these sound good to me, right? The $100 part that can save you thousands. What a great hook, right? Burn this, not that. Safe wood choices for your fireplaces, right? So that's a great start, right? And it has the script, and I could go in there and go, hey, make this a little bit longer, blah, 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 right? It didn't write it in paragraphs, but you could literally go, okay, I'm just going to, for instance, treat that one as my first paragraph, and this is going to be a 2-paragraph edit. Now, the only reason I'm telling you guys to conceptually shoot in paragraphs is because it allows you to shoot the first paragraph. Once you're happy with it, you now look at the second paragraph. So you're not having to keep all of that information in your head, right? So that's the goal, is you're just taking it bite by bite, right? And so all of your script stuff is really right here. And then ultimately you could go, great, now take this content and create social media posts that don't reference any video. And the idea here is you're taking one video script and making it have multiple uses, right? So the video content now can become written content so that you post your video, let's say on a Friday. So on a Monday, you can now post this text, right? So it becomes this process. I teach this kind of a concept of like, hey, shoot your videos first. And then from your videos, you can create all kinds of content because you've already laid down the audio track essentially, right? So that's how I would handle it. Like AI is a game changer. Like in the past, when I worked with some of your clients, it would be like, I'm like researching, what content should we be producing? Now, in less than 2 minutes, you've got someplace to start. And for the most part, it's going to be pretty good because ultimately it comes down to you showing off your personality, whether you're quiet, whether you're big, whether you're serious, whether you're a little bit of jovial type person. All of that matters because at the end of the day, they're buying you. Do they need that solution? Do they need the work on the chimney? Of course they do. But they want to feel confident that they're talking and working with a person that they can trust, that they feel like, oh, I would love to refer this person to my friends who have the same issue, right?
Got you. Well, brother, Cheryl, you agree this has been some very helpful information?
Oh yeah, I love this kind of geeky stuff.
Wow.
This is my geek side, the creative part.
Josh, was this informative for you?
No, I love that video editing software. That was really nice. Plus it threw the subtitles up there for you too. That's a big thing because then you can get someone to actually watch it at their desk without the sound on.
Yeah, so I think the captions and the subtitles are a must nowadays because we're constantly watching this stuff on our phone and not necessarily with the volume. So it allows somebody to read along until they're ready to hit, the volume on the video.
Well, Jim, I appreciate you being on here today. And just to repeat, you see Jim's email address on his screen right now. I've also put his website into the comments. I've also put the website, the v.io. I also put that in the comments, so you can go there. But here's the whole thing. I think that if you're a person that is scared of the camera, that's unsure how to do this, that wants to produce videos, I'd be reaching out to Jimbo here. I think Jim is a person that can relax you for the camera. I think he can help you get it together. You may want to attend this course, may just want to have a conversation. You may want to go as far as him to get that $15,000 worth of equipment out of his closet and get his butt up on the roof and do some filming again, okay? So
yeah,
anyway,
I have drones, we'll travel.
there you go. So anyway, Jim, I appreciate you being with us today. And if you joined us, I hope this has been a time that's been of value to you. We are CVC Success Group. Hey, reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you get to where your business dreams are, and let's make life just a little bit easier. Let's face it, running a business isn't simple. It's pretty hard work. So sometimes you just need somebody to talk to or some help out there, and that's where we can fill the bill for you. So I appreciate you being here this week. We'll see you next week on the next episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. Have a